Also in the lobby, there's 2 restrooms. They're unisex. There's 1 toilet per room, so you queue up in front of the bar and wait your turn. At the halftime, there will be availability for the restrooms downstairs. There's a men's room and a ladies' room. Through the lobby on that side, through the door, and down the steps. Also, there's some flyers about upcoming shows, and we would just be tickled pink if y'all came back to see us again another time. Y'all got any merch for sale? Not yet. This is normally where we talk about you need to make sure to go to the merch table because all these starving artists need the money, and they want you to buy their merch. And since they don't have any this evening, I've got a Ragtime New Orleans band cassette tape in my truck that I'll sell you for $2,000 because that's about what we try to raise for merch around, between $1,500 and $2,000 for the band. So I'll sell you that tape for $2,000, and I'll give the band $100, and I'll keep the rest. That's a good deal. Hey, also, one more thing. If you'll notice, the lights came down a little bit, and while the music's playing, they're going to be at this level. So if y'all decide to exit during the songs, which is fine if you need to go to the restroom or to the bar, just please remember on these center aisles you had to do steps. And I love songs, I love songwriters, I love good music, I love mediocre music sometimes, but mostly I love good music. But I don't give a damn about acrobatics, so don't be tripping on our steps. Please use the handrails, watch out for the yellow tape on the floor, and just love having you here. Thank you. Happy New Year. Put your hands together. Sound like you're 1,000 people right now for Atlanta Ragtime Band.
One, two, run, two. Coulter. I am your tuba player and leader for tonight, and it's a treat for us to be here. Thank you so much for coming out. This will start working eventually. That first chart was a tune called American Soldier. This whole night is mainly about one musician, but mainly more about a unique story. And that was the development of jazz right around 1900 in New Orleans in particular for us. The night centers around a man named Charles Buddy Bolden, a person who relatively little is known about. He was born in 1877 in New Orleans, and by 1895, he was an active working musician in the city. And within a 10-year career that was sadly cut short by mental illness, he revolutionized popular music in and around New Orleans and really helped transform early syncopation music, early ragtime into jazz, and that's part of the story we're going to tell you tonight. So thank you for coming out and being part of that. That was American Soldier. Up next is a tune called Creole Belles. This was one of the very first traditional rags as written for a concert band, for a street band, for a parade band. Creole Belles from 1900 by J. Bodewald Lampy. There would be lots of fun names for tonight. This guy was a Danish immigrant living in Minnesota who ended up writing one of the most classic rags of all time. Classic enough that we know that Bolden played it, and this tune was featured in the Wynton Marsalis-led soundtrack for the film Bolden, which is absolutely fascinating and worth seeing. So this is Creole Belles. Give me a sec. Y'all take your time. I gotta get all this stuff. One, two, right, go. time I heard it click. Thanks. That was Creole Belles. So you may have noticed part of what's going on tonight, everyone's reading music, and that was absolutely part of the tradition for Buddy Bolden and musicians around New Orleans of 1900. They were basically 3 types of musicians at that period of time, and they referred to themselves in these groups. There were readers, musicians who read music. There were routiners, people who maybe read music, maybe didn't, but were able to work an act or an idea into a real polished routine and sell that. And then there were fakers, musicians who could not read music and made it up as they went. And for most of history, that's what most musicians were, and still are fakers. So, and for me, that's the highest praise, because that's where music comes from in its purest form. It's for each of us from personally in our own experiences. But I digress. That will happen. Get used to it. So what you've heard so far tonight has been a mixture of written music and improvised music, primarily from the front row, and that was absolutely what Bolden and his generation were doing. And this was something that was not happening only in New Orleans. We have reports from U.B. Blake saying when he was a child in Baltimore around 1900, he remembers distinctly parade bands and funeral bands playing both written music and improvised music. So that's what you've heard a little bit of so far. Next, you will not hear any of it. This is our only serious thing of the night, and we'll probably won't even do all of it now that I'm talking about it. But part of what Bolden and those musicians did, like musicians all through time, is hired whoever would, or rather, worked for whoever would hire them. And then, as now often, that was high society, and so that often meant not playing marches and things like we've done so far, but playing more refined music. And one thing that was very popular with Bolden and his generation were a collection of dances called quadrilles. Quadrilles, at this point, really only still exist in Trinidad, but they were wildly popular around the 1900s for all musicians in New Orleans, and it's a collection of 4 or 5 different dances, typically very short little dance numbers. These are 30-odd measures of music, and that's it. But musicians would repeat these things over and over and over, with the basic rule of thumb being for a dance party, the band would play for 5 minutes and then take 5 minutes off. So in this very, very limited amount of written music, they were repeating it ad nauseum. And at that point, with boredom and curiosity, musicians start noodling and improvising and adding to the music. And that's part of how improvisation came to be part of the jazz tradition. So these will be, let's say, 2 quadrilles, because we don't need to do all of them. Let's say 3. We'll do the first one, the second one. We'll do the first one, the third one, and the fourth one. Yes. This is not a formal night. That's the whole point. We figure this out in part while we go. So quadrilles 1, 3, and 4 from this collection by Pettee. And quadrilles do actually still hold significance in traditional jazz and New Orleans jazz circles. We will get back to that story at the very end of the show, so stay tuned. Thank you. Of all the revolutionary things that Buddy Bolden did and contributed and is credited with, in addition to any number of tunes we're about to play for you tonight, even though he's not officially credited with them because he didn't actually publish them, he's basically credited with writing them. This next tune is one example, a tune called Careless Love. And this is also our first blues number of the evening. And that's arguably where Bolden was the most revolutionary. Because at this point in time, the blues was absolutely a fully grown and developed musical style. It was happening all up and down the Mississippi River and absolutely happening in New Orleans as well. But like so many things in New Orleans in that era, it was divided by class. And the blues was only found in the hardest, most low-class, hard-drinking, the kind of place you would not take your church-going grandmother or any of these church-going gentlemen in front of me. But it was Bolden who was really credited with bringing the blues into respectable society for the first time. So we'll have any number of those later on in the second half, especially. But next is Careless Love, which will feature basically everyone in the front row of the band as they go around with a little version of the tune. And I would only ask your patience with me as I'm doing this job because I've got 4 jobs to do tonight, and I'm already failing on one of them. I need to speak with you fellas, which is, ladies and gentlemen, which is a very happy experience for me. I need to lead the band. I need to play the tuba, which is the happiest experience. And I need to be drinking responsibly, like you all should. Please patronize the bar, have a tasty beverage, and help keep the venue open. So this is Careless Love with solos by basically the entire front side of the band. Concert pitch chart, yeah, 8 times around. One, two, one. You'll see why. First of all, I need to apologize to Shalom. Shalom, I am sorry. I forgot the last time to turn this thing off. I'll try and be better. That's why it was turned off from up there when he caught me right now. So thank you for that. That was Careless Love. I'll take a second to introduce at least the front row of the band right now. On our outside clarinet, that's Seth Kuehn. Right next to him on another clarinet is Vinnie Dagostino. Local favorite, yay. Next to him on one of the two cornets. Cornet is like a trumpet, but not. This is John Bryant. Dr. John Bryant, I should say. He's a good doctor. Next to him is the great Greg McLean on cornet. There we go. And finally, leading out the front row on the slide trombone is Neal McLeroy. So part of the problem in trying to put on any kind of Bolden-inspired concert is the lack of information we have about him. We have no recordings in existence. There are hints and myths and legends that maybe he made some wax roll recordings, but those, if they happened, they have been lost to history. So much of what we're trying to do is a kind of musical archaeology, and it takes you down unexpected paths. One thing one tune that is often mentioned in reference with Bolden is a tune called Panama Rag, which we're about to play for you, but not. Because the confusion comes, there is another tune, also called Panama, but not called Panama Rag, that was written in 1914, and which became a traditional jazz favorite, standard, plays all over the country, all over the world. But being written in 1914, and as Bolden's career, as he entered the Louisiana State Asylum in 1906, so we know for a fact that he couldn't have played that Panama. But thanks to the research of a good friend and supporter of the band, one Russell T. Shackelford, who might be out here. I don't know if you see anyone in the audience who looks like Groucho Marx, that's him. I don't see him. But he did some research, and he's done a bunch of these arrangements for us and has been a big help. And what he found was the actual Panama Rag, written in 1904. So this is the tune that is most likely the tune that Bolden would have played. But just because you all nice folk came out to join us on this Saturday night, you're going to get a 2-for-1 special. We're going to play for you first the Panama Rag from 1904, written by Charlie Seymour. Oh, his name was Charlie. I don't know what his name was. And then following that, we'll do Panama, Clarence. And then following that, we'll do Panama from 1914, written by William Tyers. And we'll do that actually more in its original setting, which actually has sort of a Latin feel, as Latin music was wildly popular in New Orleans right around the turn of the century. And we'll come back to that again in the second half as well. So here is first Panama Rag, and then Panama. And I'm turning off. Thank you. We have one more for you before we take a little break. Up next is another example of the street parade aspect of this music. Bands were leading parades all through the city for all kinds of events, for social events, for funerals, for weddings, for bar mitzvahs, for all sorts of things, because there was no other alternative. There was no recorded music. So if you wanted music, you made it yourself, or you found a band or musicians. And one of the early favorites of these New Orleans street bands was a march called High Society that came to have sort of a life of its own, and partly because of the inventiveness of one of the early clarinet players and clarinet legends in New Orleans, a man named Alphonse Picou, who took the piccolo obligato part from the original march, and through his own alterations and inspirations, turned it into a clarinet obligato. On this show, you will hear it in clarinet obligato form, and if we are all lucky, you will also hear it in E-flat helicon form. So this is High Society March, and then we're going to take a little break. Thank you so much. One, two, three, yeah. Thank you. I messed up again. Thank you. We'll be back in a bit.